What's going on, everyone? Bass here. So today I have my buddy from FTFN Network here, Liam Mitchell. He covers the Bucs, obviously with the Week 6 matchup coming up, the 4-0 Packers against the 3-2 Buccaneers. I wanted to bring on a Bucs perspective because he covers everything Bucs on FTFN. Like I said, he does highlights just like I did, which is really cool. And I want to ask you a couple questions, Liam. So you're very similar in terms of your channel to mine. What caused you to start making highlights and uploading them to YouTube? Because I have a very similar, I would assume I was a very similar story to you.
Yeah, man. I think it's been a little over 5 years now since I started my channel. And I love the history of the NFL and just the Buccaneers as a whole. Before I even started making YouTube videos, I would make like PowerPoint presentations on like Bucs statistics and like the history and stuff. And then one of my friends was like, why don't you just start like posting YouTube videos, like their history and stuff? And then I slowly started accumulating more of their games and yearbooks and stuff like that. And I started posting videos and they got pretty popular pretty quickly. And then it just became more and more of a hobby of mine to the point where here I am now on Fan to Fan. I've gotten pretty popular. I've got about 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. So
nice, man. Yeah. It's a cool thing because I think we went down a similar road with, just doing highlights and then joining Fan to Fan Network. And that's really where we first started to pretty much show our personable selves and talk about, the sport that we love and the teams that we love, which is cool. It's always a fun thing to do. And that's exactly why having you on here today. And it's cool that you're so personable to me and you're a lot like me in terms of, our channels and whatnot, which is awesome. Buccaneers, I have no issue with the Buccaneers. I like watching them. The only horrible memory in my mind with the Buccaneers, and I'm a little young, but LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that's all I have to say, and I'm pretty sure you know what I'm going to talk about. I think he threw Eric Walden down to the ground about twice in that play, that single play. Like he broke about 7. It was like Beast Mode, Beast Quake 2.0 to me. That run was insane.
It was an incredible run. Luckily for you guys, you won the game. So
yeah.
You guys had a much better season than the Bucs that year. So that was our highlight. We were an awful team in 2011. That was our highlight of the entire season.
That was probably the best the Packers have been up until now. So the 2011 was definitely a wonderful season to start, and then obviously one and done against the Giants in the playoffs and beat by the Chiefs, who were trash that year. The 16-0 season.
I thought you guys were going to repeat. I thought the Niners were probably the biggest, but surprisingly, neither you or the 49ers even made it to the bowl. So.
Yeah.
Giants,
see, the problem with those Packers teams around then is they just couldn't stop the run. And like even 2012, 2013, Colin Kaepernick has had a day on them in both playoff games. Just ridiculous. But getting back onto our game, so I was looking up some of the stats, and the Bucs are on pretty high standards with the Packers in terms of offense. Packers are averaging 38 points per game, best in the league. Bucs are at about 28, so 10 less. But on defense, the Packers are getting 25.3 on them, and then Bucs 22.4. So defense is a little better. I saw Tom Brady's having a pretty good year. I haven't watched much Bucs games or footage. I know he has a few questionable interceptions. So what does he look like to you, coming from someone who's never had a quarterback like him, on your team?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I considered it a blessing. I was literally shocked when we signed Tom Brady. I was in disbelief, still kind of am. This season, he's looked a little rusty, I think, especially at the beginning. Even for Tom Brady, I think it definitely takes some time for these guys to build that chemistry with each other. I mean, it definitely hurt not having a preseason, and it took a little time. I mean, it showed in New Orleans, especially that week 1 game. The offense just wasn't clicking at all. For the most part, I think the thing that's most important for Tom, and it actually leads into this game, it leads into every game for me, is we have got to protect Tom Brady. I mean, if you give him time and you give him the protection, he will pick any defense apart.
He's very good at avoiding sacks too.
Yeah. And, last week, I mean, I think that was a big reason as to why we lost, was our offensive line just got eaten up by the Bears. And it was exactly what I was afraid of, was we got to stop Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and all these guys. And sure enough.
Know all about it. All about
it. So, that, for me, is the biggest thing. We've got to protect Tom Brady. And, you guys, Za'Darius Smith, he's the guy I'm most scared of this. I always look, who's the opposing team's best pass rusher. I mean,
yeah, it's definitely Z.
Donovan.
He's been a force.
Yeah, Donovan Smith is probably in my opinion, the biggest, weakest the weakest link on this offense. And
Okay.
if he beats Donovan Smith.
So I was looking at running back. So I was kind of confused because you guys signed Leonard Fournette, but obviously Rojo's still the main guy there. Now, why sign Leonard Fournette? And I see even Shady McCoy only has like 2 carries on the year. They use him more in the passing game. But what was the purpose of signing Leonard Fournette? I feel like it was such a big thing. People are like, oh, Leonard Fournette, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he's kind of really hasn't done anything.
Yeah,
you know, is he just looking bad? Like,
what Bruce Arians said was literally, you can't have too many good running backs.
Same thing with pass rushers. He's not wrong.
Was his reasoning as to why we signed him. I mean, Bucs fans for sure. I mean, I think the coaches as well have had their fair share of issues with Ronald Jones. He definitely has a hard time picking up blocks. He's not a good pass catching back. And believe it or not, Fournette's actually not that bad. He caught 76 passes last year. And I think they like the 1-2 punch with those two guys. Fournette's still young. And when he has been on the field, he's looked okay. He had over 100 yards in week 2 against Carolina and a couple scores. But he's been banged up. He didn't play against the Bears. He didn't play much at all against New Orleans in the week 1 game. Just hasn't played very much. And honestly, Rojo's looked good the last 2 weeks. He's looked really fast. He's had 100 yards back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I believe he's averaging 4.9 on the year per carry, which is really good.
Yeah, I've been impressed. Besides the fact that he drops passes left and right, he definitely needs to improve on that. But
Tom Brady definitely does not like his running backs when they drop passes.
No, man, Brady was giving the O-line and everybody just a mouthful on the sidelines last Thursday. But yeah, I think they're just going to ride a 1-2 punch. Fournette's got to come back fully healthy, and I think for now, like you said, Ronald Jones is still the number 1 guy, and especially after coming off back-to-back 100-yard games, I would expect him to get the most touches on.
Yeah, I asked that because the Packers' run defense has always been shaky since God knows how long. Kenny Clark is coming back, but still, there's still some holes in that defense. So I've heard Mike Evans and Godwin hurt. Do you have any insight on that? Like, you think they're both going to go? Do you think just one?
Yeah, so Evans will go for sure. I give props to Mike Evans because, I mean, he's battling he's clearly hobbled. It showed that he's not playing at full speed, but he is still playing, and he has 6 touchdowns this season. He's scored in every game this year, so he's still making plays. Chris Godwin, they're hoping and expecting him to be able to play on Sunday. And if he does play, I do actually think he ends up having a pretty big game. I expect him to make some plays and come right back in okay. Those hamstrings, man.
Sure, they're bad. So that's what Devontae was out with.
Yeah, and he's coming back on Sunday, right? I mean,
yes, 100%. Matt LaFleur literally just said about an hour ago or 30 minutes ago that Kenny Clark, Devontae Adams are ready to go for Sunday. So
awesome.
That will segue into my first one of my first questions was, what matchup do you think will be the most important for the Buccaneers and Packers? Like, what matchup on the field?
The matchup on the field that will be the most important. So every game I say, protect Tom Brady. And I think if Za'Darius Smith is lined up with Donovan Smith one-on-one, someone help Donovan Smith, please. Get a running back to chip on Za'Darius. Get a tight end to help, because Donovan Smith has been ugly this year, and I think Za'Darius Smith, if just like Khalil Mack gets his way, it's going to make Tom Brady uncomfortable in the pocket, possibly create some turnovers. That, for me, is the biggest match. It basically is every week. I hate to say it, but it is. It's Donovan Smith handled the best pass rusher on the opposing team.
And that's not discrediting. We have guys like Preston Smith, who hasn't had a great year, but Rashawn Gary, who's been hurt the last couple of weeks, he should play. He's actually had a very good sophomore year. For me, I think it's whatever cornerback that covers Mike Evans, because if Godwin goes, Jair, who is the number 1 PFF corner in the league right now with a 90.9 rating, Jair's gonna cover Godwin, I believe. So the problem with the opposing side is Kevin King's hurt. He practiced for the first time today, and I think it was in a limited capacity. Also, I think a hamstring injury. They just linger. He's a good size matchup for Mike Evans, but if he doesn't go, I'm wondering what they're going to do there, because we have Chandon Sullivan, but he's mainly a slot corner, so they're not going to push him outside. So then you're going down to the depths of Josh Jackson, who has limited snaps, and Kadar Holman, who has even less limited or less snaps. So that's a worry for me, because Mike Evans is such a premier receiver, top 5 in the league when healthy. It's that's a really big worry for me because, like you said, he scored in every year. He's even still playing through an injury and still balling out. So that's a big worry for me there with whoever's going to be covering him.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, plus it's been so frustrating as a Bucs fan because I want those two receivers super healthy. Because
you also Scotty Miller has been having a good year too. Yeah, I saw
he's been having a great year. It's the thing about Scotty Miller is I think there's only two things to his game that are really an asset, and it's his straight line speed. I don't think people realize just how fast Scotty Miller is. If you just send him on literally a 9 go route, he can run by most players in this league. And then the quick bubbles. The third receiver on the Bucs that I really want to see start coming along more was our 5th round pick this year, Tyler Johnson out of Minnesota.
Yes.
He actually had 61 yards on Thursday, and it was really good to see. I really hope he can kind of grow into a third receiver for the Bucs. And honestly, I think he might be able to make some plays on Sunday, and I hope he can because, like you said, I mean, I think Jair Alexander on a hurt Chris Godwin is going to be tough, and then Mike Evans is still hobbled. Hopefully, Tyler Johnson can step up and make some plays.
Yeah, I actually wanted Tyler Johnson in the draft. Obviously, Packers didn't draft any receivers, but a lot of fans were hurt about that. So they'll be even more hurt if Tyler Johnson lays like 80 on us because they'll be like, oh, I should have drafted him. It's one of those things. But Packers offense has been amazing without drafting receivers, so there's not much to complain about there. So segueing into this, who scares you the most on the Packers, like a player? I know your obvious answer could be Aaron Rodgers, but I kind of want to hear someone other than Aaron Rodgers.
Outside of Aaron Rodgers, I think Aaron Jones. I think he's actually a pretty underrated back when it comes to most. I don't know, when they throw out like the top 10 running backs in the NFL. I feel like you don't.
Very underrated.
He's a very underrated player. He's a very good player, and I'm very interested to see. The Bucs have had the best run defense in the NFL over the past 2 seasons.
I saw that. Yeah,
it's been extremely stout. But we did just lose Vita Vea to a broken ankle for the entire season. Our run stuffer right in the middle. So I am a bit curious and a bit worried to see what may happen. Aaron Jones is a good back. We lost Vita. I think we'll be okay. But Aaron Jones scares me. He's a great player, man. So Vontae David and Devin White got to bring it. Got to rap. And
yes,
he scares me, man.
That's funny you say Devin White because that's one of my guys that would scare me the most on the Bucs because he's such a young ascending player. And I think I saw a quote of his that said, "Unleash me" or something like that against Aaron Rodgers. And I don't like hearing that type of thing because when I hear that, I think Anthony Barr, I think broken collarbone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think Aaron Rodgers gets the better of him, but he's such an ascending top tier linebacker. And then to pair him with Levante David is just a really good linebacker core over there in Tampa Bay. So I'm definitely scared of him. And then also a little bit Mike Evans because who's going to cover him?
Devin White is so fast.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to compare, say, nowadays linebackers to like the 80s or the 70s. Like it's so ridiculous.
Devin White is so incredibly fast, man. I mean, David's fast too, but White is just on another. And that's why I think it's so hard to run on this team. Is just when you try to run outside the tackle, those linebackers are just so fast.
And that's the problem I see with this Sunday is the Packers like to use their running backs in the pass game a lot too because they go against bad matchups like a linebacker who's not Devin White. Jamal Williams had 96 yards receiving last week or the week before I believe. So these running backs know how to catch a ball, but if you put someone like Devin White who can run with them, it's it's going to be difficult.
A couple years ago, that's why I wanted sorry not to cut you off, man. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Why I wanted them to draft Devin White was literally for that reason, is I felt that running backs were getting more and more used in the passing game, and we deal with Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara twice a year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Out of the year, I wanted a fast linebacker who could match up on these guys and take them out of the game in the passing game. Yeah,
that's definitely going to be critical. So, I asked you who scares you most on the Packers. So on the flip side, who scares you on the Bucs? Who are you worried about? And I'm pretty sure you're going to say Donovan Smith, right?
We'll move on. We'll move on from Donovan Smith.
Stop picking on Donovan Smith. He tries.
I'll stop picking on anybody on the O line. But if I had to worry about anybody else, I won't bring up the receivers being hobbled either, because we've kind of already talked about. I guess it would be these young defensive backs who have looked good at times. Carlton Davis, I think, is one of the most underrated corners in the NFL, so I'm not directing this at him, or Antoine Winfield Jr., who's looked great, but more so at guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting, who has had his lapses in coverage the past couple weeks.
I heard he's streaky. Like he's very inconsistent. Yeah.
He looks good at times, and then like for example in the Chargers game a couple weeks ago, he didn't get much help. Granted, we brought an all-out blitz and it was straight one-on-one, no safety help over the top. But God, he just got torched on a deep 70-yarder. Gave up 2 touchdowns. Again, both great plays by San Diego. Or I always say San Diego, L.A.
I do it all the time too.
Yeah,
I still do it.
I got to do it with the football team now too, man.
I know. I say Redskins like every time.
I say Redskins. My dad was a massive Redskins fan.
Okay.
Anyway, so Sean Bunning, I hope he can step up and play a little better this week. And he's a guy I'd worry about as a Bucs fan. Hopefully he can.
So I know I'm being repetitive with mine, but it's still Kevin King, and that's if he goes, which I think he's going to be questionable because if he only practiced one day and if it's at a limited capacity and it's a hamstring issue, they might end up just holding him out. So then my attention directly goes to Josh Jackson, who was a second-round draft choice, sure, but really hasn't done anything in this league. He's had very limited snaps with the Packers, mainly practice squad snaps and our special team snaps and like punt team and kickoff team. So that worries me there because you know who if you put a corner like Josh Jackson or Kadar Holman who have very limited snaps, Mike Evans is going to win 9 times out of 10. Dude's a beast. That's where I really worry there. So the next thing I have is what are some key points for the Bucs to come away with a win on Sunday?
I think the biggest keys are 1, like I said, protect Tom Brady is the biggest one. 2, I really hope, and my bold prediction for this game is we can finally get Aaron Rodgers to throw an interception.
No. It will not be caused by himself. It will either be a tipped ball.
It'll be
He does not throw interceptions. It's crazy. It's really wild. I think that's a very underrated part of his game that people don't respect enough. Dude does not turn the ball over. It's ridiculous.
Believe it or not, early in his career, so this is well over a decade ago, he did have his struggles throwing interceptions in Raymond James. But,
yes, you guys were wearing the creamsicle jerseys.
Yeah,
I think I remember that game.
That was in 08 and 09, though. 2 straight years, we picked him off 3 times at Raymond James. And if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers hates Raymond James. He hates their field. He hates the grass. He says it's an awful surface.
Well, I mean, it's going to be 85 on Sunday, and the Packers in Green Bay, it's 44 degrees on Sunday. So you're almost double in the temperature there. And I saw the Bucs are making the Packers wear their dark jerseys.
So yeah, as well as protecting Tom Brady, it's hopefully we can get in Aaron Rodgers' face, create at least 1 interception, take the ball away.
The turnover. The Packers haven't turned over the ball this year.
They don't turn over the ball, and that's how you win football games. It flips the
time of possession and turnovers.
It's massive turnover ratio, and that's been a big problem for the Buccaneers. And obviously, Jameis Winston was all those interceptions. Just constantly put us in a terrible hole. These
wasn't there games when he had like 5 interceptions?
Oh yeah, I think he threw 5 against Carolina last year in London.
See, I feel that somewhat because, like, as a kid, Brett Favre, dude, would throw. I think there's a Rams playoff game. He threw 5 interceptions. I think it was like 03 or something like that.
Yeah,
just ridiculous.
He threw 6 in that game.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Sounds like Brett Favre.
Yeah.
You live by Brett Favre and you die by Brett Favre.
Favre, though, that's the difference between Favre and Favre would throw the picks, but he would still win games, and he made amazing plays when it counted most.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, Jameis Winston was throwing the ball the other way.
Jameis just throws it up, and Mike Evans is down there somewhere. So with me, I'd say the keys are, and you kind of touched up on this, but I saw Tampa's giving up the 2nd least rushing yards this year. So for the Packers, it's to get that run game going. Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, maybe we see a little bit more of A.J. Dillon this game. Tyler Ervin, our gadget player, he didn't practice again today, so he's probably going to be out. He's also the punt return and kick return. And then also Devontae Adams coming back and having a good game because, he was hobbled week 2 and then hasn't played since. Had a really, really, really good week 1 game against the Vikings. So he's got to come back 110% and pretty much be Devontae Adams and allow the other receivers to eat too and get open. And like I said, just getting the running backs going in the pass game and the run game against the really good Tampa Bay run defense. So the next thing I have, what is a player on the Bucs that might surprise me? Someone I may not know of or may not heard of much that I'm going to see them make a play on Sunday and go, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, if I think it's been coming out. He actually won Defensive Rookie of the month in September. But if other Packers fans out there haven't seen much of the Bucs, Antoine Winfield Jr. It looks
We
like
know a lot about his dad, the
yeah,
Viking. Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like we got an absolute steal out of that man in the early second round. I mean, he's looked awesome this year. He makes plays every game, always around the football. Expect him. Don't be surprised if he makes a pretty big play, whether it be a sack or a forced fumble.
I think it was him that has a decent amount of tackles for losses. Do they throw him down to the box a lot?
We throw him in the box a lot, and we send him. I like to think Rondé was a corner, but I like to think of him as like a mini Rondé Barber. He's always playing in like the box, and Todd Bowles dials up blitzes like no other. So him and Jordan Whitehead are constantly living in the backfield.
Nice.
We'll bring the heat. Todd Bowles is not afraid.
Oh no, definitely not. That guy comes up with some good blitz packages.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, I want to ask you, because I think a lot of people want to hear this from a Bucs fan particularly. So what does it feel like going from one team identity? You know, you have Jameis Winston last year, and like you said, dude just turned over the ball so much, and you go to a whole different identity this year. You get in Tom Brady, Rob Gronk, who really hasn't done much, but still, Rob Gronk, Leonard Fournette, same thing, hasn't kind of done much. But you kind of go to a whole new offensive identity because it's Brady. Did the mantra around the team change when Brady showed up?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, before I even talk about Brady, as a Bucs fan, it's crazy just the amount of coverage we're getting. Like, we never get – I mean, you as Packers fans, you're constantly in prime time. You're one of the most popular teams in all of professional sports in the United States of America. This will be the third time – for example, this will be the third time we get Joe Buck and Troy Aikman announcing a game this season in only 6 games. I think we had them maybe 5 to 6 times the entire decade of the 2010s.
We'll get ready for Troy Aikman to shit on the Packers all time. That's all that guy does. He's a cowboy. He hates it.
Yeah.
He can't. Dude shits on the Packers all game.
So first of all, yeah, it's just crazy as a fan to see that we're going to be getting all these primetime games, and we constantly have the top announcers on Fox, and we're playing America's Game of the Week, a later game. So that's crazy. But yeah, just the overall mantra, I think, is just, you know, Tom is just, he's Tom. And I think the players just look at him, they listen to him, and he brings that aura of he's the GOAT. And people listen to him, and it's just such
Hold
a different.
on.
Rogers Favre. I'm a huge Favre fan, by the way, for everybody watching. He's my
I don't see
favorite.
who could dislike Favre. I don't see who could dislike the guy.
Not like Favre. The passion, the will to win, just
ridiculous. Just the toughest player to ever play the game, in my opinion. Just dude would play with broken thumbs. Just didn't matter to him.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you can just tell that the leadership I see from. I know he's always. It looks like he's whining and complaining on the sidelines, but I think he just trying to get the best out of everybody around him, and he just knows that they can be better. And that's the kind of leader that the Buccaneers have literally, in their entire history, never seen from the quarterback position, ever.
See, that's the thing with Tom. Like you saw last week when he was, screaming at people on the sideline, and a lot of Packers fans they were saying if that was Aaron Rodgers, he'd be getting shit on all week, because everyone likes to say Aaron Rodgers is a bad guy. Him and Matt LaFleur don't get along. He's the reason Mike McCarthy got fired. Blah 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 blah. And then Tom Brady goes around and does something similar, and he's like, oh, he's an amazing leader, which he is. But what annoys me is Aaron Rodgers could do one thing, like snarl at a wide receiver for running a wrong route, or like get pissed off that Matt LaFleur took a timeout when he didn't want it, and people run with it. They just run with it. It's ridiculous.
I don't know why. I don't know where that came in. You'd probably know better than me where that came in, because I mean, throughout the history of the league, most quarterbacks, Troy Aikman was one of them.
Yeah.
They expected better. They would get on their players if it wasn't going well. John Elway, all these guys. So it's not the greats. They get on their guys, and I
think it's because Aaron Rodgers has a very he's a lot of arrogance to him, but rightfully so. Dude can play. Dude's one of the most talented to ever play the quarterback position. So I think that has to do with it. It's just the way he talks and does interviews, he seems to be like a very arrogant person. But like I said, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, it could just be the way he comes off. But at the end of the day, I mean, like you said, the guy's an incredible player. I think it's in terms of just ability, I could argue that he is better than Brady as far as arm strength and where he can put the ball. I'll never forget, like, that 2011 game that LeGarrette Blount made that amazing run, some of the back shoulder passes, because this is the first time, like, because the 08-09 game, he was still a little bit younger. Just that 2011 game, some of the back shoulder throws.
His first season starting was 08, so.
Yeah, that game at Tampa, he injured his shoulder, actually. But that 2011 game, he was throwing some back shoulder throws to Jordy Nelson, and I was just like, I looked at the Bucs corner, EJ Biggers, and I was like, I looked at my friends who were watching that. I'm like, you literally, like, how do you stop that? You can't.
No, him and Jordy were so good at that.
Yeah. So I couldn't even get mad at Biggers. It's like the guy was in perfect coverage, and I was just like, well, like, there's literally no way you can stop that.
That offense was ridiculous in 2011. Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Randall Cobb, Jermichael Finley, just ridiculous, like, amount of talent they had on that offense. That's why very underwhelming end to that. But overall, I'm really hyped for this matchup. And I know people are always like, oh, Brady versus Rodgers, when it's not that. Obviously, Brady plays the Packers defense, Rodgers plays the Bucs defense. But very, very excited for this because, in 2010, the Packers played the Patriots. I was actually at that game. Aaron Rodgers was concussed the week before. I went up to see Matt Flynn almost beat the Patriots when they were like 2-score underdogs, flurrying, just cold-ass night in December. So I think it was December 19th.
Is that the game that Dan Conley, the O-lineman, had a giant?
Yeah, I was
You're there? That's epic.
I was there.
That's epic.
I was at some interesting games, but I'll tell you what, when Dan Conley took that ball, no one was like booing. Like every single person in that stadium was cheering. Like they wanted him to take it.
Fans were like, go!
Yeah. He was holding the ball like a loaf of bread. That's
one of the most. You love to see the big jellies.
Exactly. It was really a joy to see. But like I said, I'm very hyped for this game. I obviously, being a biased Packers fan, still have the Packers winning this game, but I think it's going to be a decently high scoring game, and it's going to be a real close one. I could see this one even ended up with like a Mason Crosby game winner.
I do. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be very close. I'm going to be a bit of a homer as well and take the Bucs to win at home. But I'm going to say like 30-27. I think it's going to be high scoring.
I'm very similar. I'm at like a 34-31 type score there, right around there. Just field goal winner.
Down to like a field goal. The one thing I'm hoping is obviously Green Bay's looked like an absolute Super Bowl contender this year. They have faced the 27th, 29th, 26th, and 30th ranked defenses so far this season. So,
but you have to realize why they're ranked like that, because the Packers put up so many damn yards on them and points.
That is very true. And that is very true. Your boy, Robert Tonyan, almost screwed me out of a fantasy win a couple of weeks ago. I was so annoyed. Dude, I had almost picked him up. I was about to pick him up, and I was the week before, and I didn't. And then like an hour before the game, my buddy pulled Devontae Adams because he wasn't going to play, plugged in Tonyan, and he ended up getting like 30 points, and I ended up winning by like 2 points.
Yeah, 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dude was going off. He's actually really excelled. Yeah, he's excelled. He was hurt a lot of last year. He's playing through a core injury after he had surgery, and he actually earned a lot of respect from the players because he played through that injury, and he's earned his spot. He really has. Jimmy Graham just stole all those targets. Jimmy Graham was a target vulture, so it's glad that he's gone now. But yeah, man, I'm really excited for this game. Like I said, I got the Packers winning in a close one, 3 points. But overall, I'm excited to see how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look this year, because I haven't really watched much of them. And, I always like watching Tom Brady. I always like watching what he does and the way he, plays the game. So overall, I'm very hyped for it. If you guys want to check out Liam's channel, he does highlights just like I do. If you want to watch old Bucs games, there's some old Packers Bucs games he has. He even has like just old players, Mike Allstott, those type of guys, highlight reels for him. Definitely go check out his channel. I'm going to put it down in the description. Like I said, he's part of the FTFN network like I am, and he's the Bucs ambassador. So he's pretty much your guy to go to if you need anything Bucs.
Thank you for the kind words, my man.
I know. I try. But that'll about do, guys. I'll catch you all on Sunday. Go Pack, go.
Go Bucs.